Have you ever prayed until your voice broke, until your tears burned your face, and still nothing? The silence can be deafening. You shout to heaven, but the sky remains closed. You ask for a sign, yet the air feels heavy with emptiness. But what if that silence is not absence? What if that silence is sacred? In ancient times, silence was never meaningless. To the Hebrew mind, it carried weight, like the pause before a storm. Job experienced this silence. He cried, questioned, cursed the day of his birth, and yet God remained quiet. That silence became the crucible that reshaped his faith. Israel, too, knew the silence of God. 40 years wandering, begging for deliverance, and yet hearing nothing. But the silence was not abandonment. It was transformation. It was discipline. It was refinement. God was not ignoring his people. He was preparing them to be his. Sometimes silence is the loudest answer of all. But let's be honest, silence can feel like rejection. You asked for healing, but sickness grew worse. You prayed for provision, but the bills piled higher. You begged for a relationship to be restored, and yet the door slammed shut. We interpret silence as God's denial, but history whispers a different truth. Silence often hides protection. What you thought would save you might have destroyed you. That open door you cried for might have led to a pit. That yes, you desired so badly might have been the very thing that shattered your soul. God sees beyond your horizon. He knows the traps the enemy sets in shadows you cannot see. His no is sometimes his most tender yes. His delay is often his shield, and yet silence is also a test. It asks, will you still trust when you cannot see? Will you still worship when the miracle doesn't come? Faith that only survives unanswered prayers is not faith at all. It's a transaction. Real faith is forged in darkness, where no answer comes and still you cling. And then there is Jesus. In the Garden of Gethsemane, he fell on his face and prayed, Father, let this cup pass from me. The Son of God himself begged for escape, and heaven silent. The cup was not removed. The path of suffering was not lifted. The silence became the prelude to the cross. And from that unanswered prayer came the greatest victory in history, salvation for all humanity. What looked like abandonment was redemption hidden in plain sight. What seemed like denial was a doorway into eternal life. Do you see it? God's silence does not equal his absence. The prophets felt it. The apostles endured it. The saints through the centuries walked through it. And yet, out of silence rose power, miracles, restoration, and eternal hope. The silence of God is not a void. It is a battlefield. It is where the unseen war rages, where your soul is stretched, and where heaven prepares its response. Wait, trust, hold on, for silence is never the end of the story. So what are the lessons? First, do not mistake God's silence for abandonment. He may be closer in silence than in noise. Second, remember that unanswered prayers are often shields, saving us from unseen destruction. Third, accept that delay does not mean denial. God's timing burns away pride and reveals what is eternal. And fourth, understand this. Demanding constant answers is a dangerous mistake. Many fall into bitterness, thinking God has failed them, when in truth he was protecting, teaching, and preparing them. The great error is assuming God works on our schedule when he works outside of time. If you can learn to trust him in silence, then your faith will no longer be chained to circumstances. It will be rooted in eternity. The silence of God is not your enemy. It is His whisper saying, "Be still and know that I am God." In the silence, He is shaping you. In the waiting, He is refining you. And when the silence breaks, His answer will carry more weight than all your tears. If this message pierced your soul, do not let it fade into silence. Like this video so the word can echo further. Subscribe and walk with us through the shadows into the light. Share this with someone lost in silence, someone who needs to know God has not abandoned them. Together, let us awaken faith in the dark.